Well, today I decided we should make an apple-themed gnome to go with the rest of our apple decor for the front porch of the dollhouse. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. Alright, I thought I'd start out by going over what each piece is and where you'll find it on your cutting pattern. Now, their pieces are laid out exactly the same on the PDF as they are on the cutting file for the electronic cutter because I use the same PNG to create both. So we have 4 body pieces, we have 3 beards, we have 3 noses, we have 6 shoes to make 2 feet, we have 3 apples, we have 3 pairs of hands, these go together and then these go together. And this time we have 3 straight peaked hats that just have a little bit of slumping at the bottom. And the nose, the bottom of this has been cut out with the nose, so the nose should fit in that hole perfectly as long as you cut it accurately. So I am going to remove these from my cutting mat, get my glue and my toothpick and everything out to get ready to glue, and then I'll be back. Alright, I have all the pieces removed from my cutting mat and I have kept them together so that I know which ones glue together. It makes it much easier to be somewhat organized. So let's talk about the pattern, where you get it, what the rules are, and as I glue a few of these, and then I will go ahead and turn the camera off and finish off camera. So the pattern for this is a free download. It's on my blog post that goes with this video. The link to the blog post is always in the description box. All you have to do is go over to the blog, follow the link to the Google Drive folder, and download the pattern. You'll get a PDF if you want to hand cut. You'll get a PNG and a text file that explains sizing and my various hints for using the PNG with a cutting machine, like a Cricut or Silhouette or any of those. Now, I've used mine on the Cricut. I don't know how the other machines work because I only have a Cricut. But the pattern works really well for me on there as long as I remember to size correctly. The pattern is free for you to use and make as many of these little gnomes as you want. You can even sell the gnomes themselves if you would like. If someone else wants the pattern, send them to my blog post, to the video, because that's the only compensation I get for all the time I spend making the patterns, is the little bit that I get paid when you guys click on the blog or click on the YouTube channel. So please follow the rules so that I can keep making these for you guys. Now I have cut, I always cut these out of medium weight white cardstock. I prefer this because over doing colored cardstock for several reasons. Number one, I can keep one package of cardstock on hand and paint everything to the color I want it to be. So it's much more economical. I only have to make one cut to make the entire gnome. I don't have to cut each piece separately. And also the colors of the acrylic paint, in my experience, overall are much more stable over time than colored cardstock. Colored cardstock, especially solid color colored cardstock in dark colors, almost always has noticeable fading after you've displayed it for a short time. So that's all the information about that. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to finish gluing these. There will be a photo of all of the units, as I call them, glued together on the blog post. When the glue dries, I'll be back and we can go on to starting painting. All right, the pieces are glued together and the glue has dried, and I have them now on a piece of tape, sticky side up, that's taped down, and I have a piece of wax paper underneath to keep my tray a little cleaner so I don't have to do quite so much cleanup before I go to the next project. So let's start painting a few of these. I won't make you watch me do all of them on camera, but well, we'll see how it goes. So the beard. What I usually do, even if I'm painting the white, just white, I go ahead and give it a coat of paint because it does help seal the edges and disguise the fact that our gnome is made out of a bunch of pieces of just cardstock. Then I have some gray paint here, just any darkish gray. Sometimes I use black, sometimes I use gray. And I'm just going to put a few pieces, a little bit on, and then streak it with the white. And you can put more or less. Not much of this is going to show because he will be holding his apple in front of his beard, but it keeps it from looking quite so flat. Now I have yet to manage to pick up any flesh tone paint. I have the two hands and the nose right here. So I have been mixing my own flesh colored paint from a pale yellow and a pale pink. I'm hoping to get to a craft store one of these days when they actually have flesh tone paint in stock. Mix together a color I like. And I might adjust that, looks pretty good. Try and get the edges of your pieces if possible. And there. Now I'm going to paint the whole apple with red. I'm not even going to put out any of that because I am going to just be painting the apple and nothing else. We will paint the stem. Once the red paint is dry, we'll go back and paint the stem of the apple. I will leave it white at this point and touch up the brown on the stem once the red dries. And again, I'm trying to get the edges. Some of these might need a second coat, but usually I find most colors I can get by with one coat. Now I'm going to make our gnome friend's body basically in a brown. And this is a burnt umber. Got it right there. I need a slightly bigger brush, but not a huge brush. I want to make, see, I'm going to add a little white because it's a little darker than I want. That's better. Oh, I got those a little closer together than I wanted. There we go. Move that over. And when the red dries, I'll use the brown straight out of the tube for the stem on the apple. And I will probably do that off camera. Now the hat. I have some green. This is a leaf green. I want kind of a warm green, a yellowy green. I'm going to do his hat. I am hoping to add some detail to this hat once this green dries, but I want to get a good coat of green first. And then the only thing left is, so we might as well do that on camera too, I have some black for the shoes. And that is all there is to the painting. I will let the paint dry. I will come back and check it and see if I do need to put a second coat on anything. And at that point in time, I'll also do the stem on the apple. But there we go. I'll let that paint dry, and once the paint is completely dry, we can come back and we can go ahead and start gluing this together. So I'll see you then. All right, this paint is dry enough. We can move on. We're going to add a little bit more pizzazz, I guess you'll say, to our green hat. I have some bright yellow and I have some pumpkin orange, right? And I've got a wet wipe here that I can clean up with. And my dotting tool. I've got kind of a medium tip there. I'm just going to add and that's plenty of that color. Now I want to make sure this is really cleaned off before I dip it into the orange. All right, I'm going to get this moved off to the side and we can start gluing the beard to the body of our gnome. All right, now just move the whole piece of tape off to the side and we can add our beard to our body here. Same glue. And I just put another container over the top of this glue and it stays nice for days this way. Kind of center the beard on the bottom. Make sure the tip of the beard goes no further than the bottom of the body and kind of center it side to side. We go ahead and add our little shoes at the same time. In case I need to move the body. Now the shoes do have a flat edge and a rounded. So the flat will go lined up with the bottom of the body. Hope you guys are enjoying these gnomes. They are so much fun to design. And I have quite a few more ideas for these. Okay, come on. And I'll go ahead and get the other shoe on off camera and make sure this is all lined up. And I do want this glue to set up a little bit. I also need the dots on the hat to dry before we can go on to our next step. So when this glue's set and that paint is dry, I will be back and we can add a hat. All right, so next we're going to add his little nose and his hat. And I'm going to start by kind of seeing where I want the hat to come. It needs to be down far enough that it at least overlaps the beard by just a little bit, but not so far that you can see the body on the sides. And the only places we need glue are at this very top of the body and then the rim, just the brim of the hat, the very bottom edge, because it kind of leans a little bit there. It's not going to touch. All through here, it won't touch. And today I'm just going to go ahead, and put in the nose, which the nose should fit pretty well because of the fact when I designed the hat pattern, I used the nose piece as the template to cut that little space out. And since I'd kind of like to get done pretty quickly, I'm going to add the apple now too. You can hold the apple any way you would like, at any angle you would like. And you can see off camera I did go and paint the stem of the apple. They're still working on the roof on my building, so my filming time is kind of limited between very loud noises outside my window. Because I have the luck of having all the ladders against the wall next to on one side of my apartment and all the trucks on the other side. So my two outside walls of my apartment have lots of noise coming in them. All right, I'm going to let this dry so I don't accidentally move the apple. And when that gets set up, not dry necessarily, but set up enough that it won't move, I will come back and we'll add his little hands. So I'll be right back. All right, now it's time to put the hands on to our gnome. And there is a little thumb that kind of points up on one end, and there's fingers on this one side. So you'll see when you see your pattern, the shape, and they are oriented on the pattern, the direction that they should go on the gnome. Now don't worry about any glue. If you get a little bit of glue oozing out, that's all right. Don't leave a lump. But we are going to, as soon as this glue dries, we are going to coat with some Mod Podge to seal everything, seal the paint, seal the paper a little more, seal all our layers. And so all you have to do is just put your hands where you want them. Let that glue set up so that, now make sure that your glue is all gone clear before moving to the next step, which will be our Mod Podge, because if we were to seal this now before that gets clear, it could remain cloudy. So I want that to get all the way clear. So I'm going to let this dry, and when it's dry, I'll come back and we will put a clear coat on. So I'll be right back. All right, my glue has gone clear and I have some satin Mod Podge. I put it out on a little container just to make sure I don't have any little bits of paint that could get mixed into my jar of Mod Podge. I'd rather, waste a little bit out here than accidentally get maybe a dot of paint that was underneath something and get it in there. But I'm going to let that dry. When this side dries, I will coat the back. I like to seal the back. I find the pieces last a lot longer that way. And when the Mod Podge is completely dry, I will meet you over at the front porch of the dollhouse, and we will see how this little guy looks with the rest of our apple themed stuff. So I'll see you there. All right, I've moved our little apple gnome to the front porch of the dollhouse along with the rest of our apple themed stuff, and I think he looks absolutely adorable. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Be sure and go over to the blog post for the link to the free downloadable pattern, along with photos and more information. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of projects would you like to see in future videos? I want to thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.